should we just start and then see?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just do it. Should we clap?
Do you want to clap?
I'm gonna clap.
Okay.
3.
1. Let's do the reverse counting. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Can I just say,
Yes.
before we start this conversation, I've been, this is so stupid, but I've been having this conversation in my head for the past 3.5 years.
I love it.
I've been thinking about the conversation. It sort of has begun to tie in with me thinking about the songs. Like whenever I thought about the songs, I thought about you.
Aw.
So
I
you're
love
this
that.
like voice in my head.
Oh,
It's so weird.
I hope a nice voice.
But then now the pressure for me is so high because I thought about so many things to say about this album, and I know I'm not gonna say half of them, but we'll see.
Well, you can say whatever you like. And even tell me that my questions are stupid, you know? So,
I
if you
would
don't...
never. Also, what is stupid?
I don't know. There are no stupid questions, isn't that a saying or something?
Should we? I mean, no, I'm gonna let you do it.
No, please go
because
for it.
I was like, I just really want to have the conversation about Camden
Yeah.
right in the beginning.
Ah, the one we started earlier.
Yeah, because I'm just so curious because you said it's your favorite song after listening to the album for the first time.
Yeah.
You're the first person who's listened to it except for the people making it.
I feel very honored.
So actually you're the only person except for Martin and I
Wow.
who's listened to everything.
I feel so special.
So, I don't know, I'm just so curious.
No, I think, well, I mean, obviously I listened to the singles that were released before. I knew all 3 of them. And I listened to, you know, I obviously listened to all of the songs in order because there's always, I know that there's a certain logic behind all of the songs, and I didn't want to start randomly, even though I think I remember us talking about Camden at some point. And
Probably.
I think you said I don't remember what it was, but I think you said something about Camden being a special one. And I think I still had that like in the back of my mind.
I mean, it is a special one in so many ways. I've referred to it as the embarrassing love song before, which is how I sold it to Johanna, our common friend.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the embarrassing love song.
Aww.
I don't know if we had that conversation about Camden, but Camden has had such a journey, and it's actually the perfect song to start because it's the first song that I wrote.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wrote it in September 2020, and I started the project in January 2021. So I wrote that song even earlier than the project, and it's like, it's not the first song that I've ever written, but it's the first song that felt to me like a proper song. So it kind of, in my head, it is the first song I've ever written. It's so special to me because I started writing songs when I was 12. No one's ever gonna hear those songs. They were mostly about love and what that, you know, meant to me when I was 12. And that sort of continued all throughout my teenage years. I didn't write all my teenage years through, but I had a bit of a phase that's like, I wrote an album actually when I was 13.
Wow.
Like several songs that made perfect sense to me and to no one else. And no one has ever heard these songs. But I then didn't write for a couple of years. And then I started writing again when I was 16, a few songs. And then 19, I wrote like 2 or 3 songs. And they were all about love. And they all were like really frustrating to me because I felt like there was always something I couldn't get quite right in the music and in the lyrics. And Camden was frustrating to me because for a long time I also felt like I didn't get it right. I didn't get the writing right. I didn't get the music right. One part that was really frustrating for me was the cut between the chorus and the post-chorus. When there's this break and then it goes like, I should not have left us stranded. I felt like that was slowing the song down.
No.
And I didn't like it at all. So I have such a love-hate relationship with this song. But it was the first song that felt real to me because it was about very specific events. And I had never written a song that was so specific as Camden.
For the first time, or did it?
For the first time.
Okay, so afterwards, all of the other songs, because that was one of my questions. They all feel very specific and very story-like.
Camden started that.
Okay.
Without Camden, there would be no Home Stories.
Okay, wow.
Because it opened up a new way of songwriting for me. That's what I wanted to say. I don't know how to keep things short. You know this about me, but this is gonna be horrible. But yeah.
No, I love it.
And then it was the embarrassing love song for me for a long time. It was the first song that I wrote, and I really didn't want to include it in the album.
Oh my god.
Because I thought that all of the songs are so similar and so wintry and so sad. And then I was like, Camden is also really sad. But I see everything through colors, and Camden is a different color. So I was like, I'm not sure. But then I was like, I have to include it because it was the first song. And I always feel like you need to honor and cherish your beginnings. So I was like, Camden has to be there.
And what color is Camden?
Purple pink, actually.
Well, that does sound very positive and not sad.
Yeah. The original version of Camden is also so different because it started out as a piano ballad.
Oh.
So very slow. I sang it a lot higher. And then with the production and with what Martin did, and when it comes to this song, I have to give so much credit to Martin and to Aref, because they were like, we need to paint this a bit darker. So it was Martin, I had been going back and forth about this, but it was Martin who eventually told me that's a good decision to sing it lower, like in a lower voice. I get quite low in that song.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes such a difference because it's such a darker vibe. And now I think it fits in really well with the album. And then you can see the love that was put into that song from the production. Like Martin put so many details into that song. There was actually, Martin told me about this, which I thought was really fun. Aref, who did the mixing and the mastering. I think he did the mixing and mastering, which Aref only did this for another song, and that is Hibernation, which is why Camden and Hibernation sound a bit different sonically. Mm-hmm. But Aref said that he could really sense the details. And he was like, why do you never put that much effort into details in my songs? Because Aref is making music as well. And Martin is his producer. So I really love that song now because Martin put so many details into it. And then Aref just took it to a whole nother level. And now it's like, it's really cool because it makes me really proud of my embarrassing love song. That is not embarrassing. Doesn't feel as embarrassing anymore.
Honestly, I think all love stories are a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah.
That's part of the process.
Also because it's about unrequited love. Like crushing for someone who doesn't see you in the same way. I think that is so uncomfortable, but it's a story that I really wanted to tell. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I see that with a lot of your songs, actually. I feel like some of or mostly, or all of them, they're very relatable because they are very specific, and I think they are very personal, but they all describe situations that probably all of us have been in before. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that's why I like Camden so much, because I could relate to it in a way. Yeah. And I remember this specific moment. I mean, I had listened to the song before. I think it was my third or fourth. I think I probably listened to the song today for eight times or something.
Really?
Yeah. And it was my third or fourth listen. And then we came to the very last part where you harmonize. And something happened within me. And I just started crying.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And I just stood there looking at myself in the mirror. And I just cried. And I was like, oh, wow. It's so beautiful.
That's so nice.
Yeah. I love it. It's my favorite song. And I can't wait for it to be released on Spotify.
Yeah.
Then I can actually press, like, repeat the song forever.
Yeah. It's so cool to hear that, because you mean like the very, very last part when it's like a bit slower, because the outro or the second bridge, however you want to call it, that actually wasn't part of the song. I wrote that as a poem. It's a really bad poem. Like last year.
Oh, wow. So hold on.
The part with my short hair and flannel shirt wasn't part of the song at all.
So you wrote Camden in 2020.
Yeah.
And then you added the poem. Okay.
Yeah, and then I was like, because originally it was gonna be the chorus again, but then I was like, I want something different, and then I added the second bridge, and I'm really glad I did.
Yeah,
because I like it.
I love it. I think that's what kicked off the emotional aspect of it,
because it's right when it taps into the delusion. It's like short hair, but it's like you remember all of those details and they mean so much to you. And I think I can see that that's maybe the relatable part of Camden, the thing of like, this is mine, like this was my love that I had for someone, and it's special to me, and I remember all of these like memories and little details. Like, it's not often that you remember the first time you saw someone, and I'm really like impressed by what I wrote, by how realistic it is, because I'm not lying in the song at all. Like, all of these details are true. So I don't know, it just feels special to you. So,
and I think that's what makes the embarrassing love story very non-embarrassing, because you make it your own. You kind of brush past the embarrassment and only remember what you want to remember, and it's your memory, and you can do with it whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I actually wrote down a question regarding hold on, where is it? Because I was gonna ask if the collared fleece sweatshirt is actually a collared fleece sweatshirt, and I think we all have a collared fleece sweatshirt, because mine's a blue washed out crew neck.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was a colored fleece sweatshirt.
Okay. So not a metaphor.
No. I mean, you can see it as a metaphor, but it was an actual sweater, and I saw another girl wearing it on Instagram years ago. And then I was like, yep, that doesn't feel good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think that made you write the song? Being reminded of this?
It was sort of this inescapable thing for me. And I mean, so much of the project, really, the reason why I refer to these songs as stories is because they feel like stories that have been like stuck in my mind for so long. And during the pandemic, I didn't have a lot of things to do. I was just thinking about my past, and all of these memories sort of came flooding back. And that was definitely one that I felt haunted by. Like, the thing that made me write the song wasn't the sweater, but it was the night that I'm referring to, the dancing between dim lights, the feeling of there's so many things that I want to tell you, which, by the way, no one's gonna get this, but that's actually a Wonderwall reference.
Oh.
Because we're singing, there are many things that I would like to say to you. There are many things that I would like to say to you.
But I don't know how.
But I don't know how. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Singing Wonderwall. being in London, Camden being a part of London, that specific memory was what triggered the song. I kind of see Camden as the place of Camden, metaphorically as a place of being in love. And when I say I should have kissed you in Camden, what I'm also kind of in my head, it makes a lot of sense, what I'm referring to is I should have made us step into the place of being in love. I should have made the first step, but I didn't, and I regret that. And so Camden, it is a metaphor in my head. And I think London is the city for me, of like being in love. Because I'm so in love with London and it's my favorite city. And we all have these cities that we go to, or these places that we go to, that make us, where we can feel like we're more ourselves. And for me, that is that place.
So you said Home Stories wouldn't have been possible without Camden. Shall we talk about the last song on the album? Which is the exact same as the album's title. The song title is the same. Because there's one line that stuck with me and that I wanted you to explain if you felt like it. It's, home stories lead to same old places, faithless glories, and all these same old faces. Can you explain what you mean by that?
So basically, the main idea of the album is isolation. And I wrote it during the pandemic, but also it's like the emotional isolation, the feeling of being stuck is a huge theme on the record. And with that specific part, I just wanted to explain the feeling of I'm feeling stuck, because home is always associated with the same place. I feel like I can't go anywhere, and it's always associated with the same faces, with the same people, with the same emotions. I'm always going round and round and round, because a lot of the stories that I've told, for example, Camden, having feelings for someone who doesn't reciprocate those feelings, or I feel like that's something that happens to you several times in your life. So all of these stories are things that just happen over and over and over again. And Home Stories is this sad ending with a bit of hope. That's debatable. But just the feeling of it's always the same, and I want to go. I want to go away from that. Yeah.
And that's also the same feeling that we all had during the pandemic, right?
No, absolutely. And that whole part of the album happened absolutely like naturally, because of the situation that I was in, and because I couldn't leave and go anywhere. And because I started thinking that way. I don't know.
And would you say writing and then, the whole process helped you kind of, in a way, let go of those memories and move on?
They really did. That is so crazy to me about art and about the whole creative process, because it really helped me let go of that. There is one song I really do that in my mind isn't even actually a song. I wrote that in, I think it was February 2021, and I was studying, and I suddenly thought about a person that I hadn't thought of for quite a long time. And you know that feeling when you think of someone that you had kind of forgotten about, and then you get like that pain in your chest, and you're like, oh. I had that. And what I've always done is that when I feel like I need closure that I'm not gonna get, I write a letter in my phone to the person. And I did that. And that's how I Really Do actually came about. I started writing, "Hey you, do you still think about me when you leave the train to go home?" And I just wrote that to that person for myself with no intent of anyone ever hearing or reading those words. And then it kind of turned into a song, and the song was finished in 15 minutes. And then I went back studying. It's so weird. It was so weird. I also refer to it as the interlude on the album, because the melody for me also isn't really that much of a song, but it's more something that I'm singing, and the music sort of accompanies what I'm singing. That's how I view it. But yeah, I was also like imagining a conversation with that person, like a phone call, like what would I say? Probably say a lot of stuff in the middle, get super dramatic, and then in the end probably say something, well, but anyways, all I really want to say is that sometimes I guess I miss you. And then realizing that, like, damn, I really do miss you sometimes. Yeah.
Again, a very relatable feeling, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I also...
But
yes,
writing that song in particular made me let go of that person.
that's beautiful.
Yeah, because when I wrote it, I felt such a sense of relief. And then, you know, singing the song, making the song, the story kind of became its own thing. Like, I feel like all of these painful things, I'm now so grateful that they happened because I got one song out of it. And one song makes me like eternally happy. So, yeah.
I feel like in retrospect, it's obviously a lot easier to look at things and say, I'm grateful I learned something from that. And it's wonderful that you made art from it because, well, you could have not. And then we wouldn't have the song.
Yeah, I would still be talking about that person, knowing me and how I go things over and over again. Yeah, I know.
And what I like about is how you talk about like the duality or the ambiguity that sometimes is in painful relationships, because you say, you put the blame on me because it's the easy thing to do, and I put the blame on you, on me because it's the easy thing to do.
I put the blame on you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's very... I feel like that's something we all do, right? And I love that you say it's the easy thing to do, because it's in a way it's not the easy thing to do. In a way it's a hard thing to do. So? I think so. But sometimes it is. Sometimes it's easier to just look for something and just say that's the reason why I'm hurting. But then it's sometimes easier to say I am the reason why I'm hurting. And I think it's because you don't talk about it again at the end of the song. I feel like it's sort of, you also let go of that. Like it's no longer putting the blame on anyone, just letting go of it.
That's so true. And that mirrors exactly what I was going through with the album. Because when I was 20 when I wrote the songs. And I feel like because I turned 20 during the lockdown, I got a bit into like a crisis.
Didn't
Just
we all?
turning 20 is really like knowing your teenage years are over. It's not easy. And so all of these stories are basically about people or things from my teenage years. And at 20, and because I was 20 during the pandemic, I started reflecting a lot on my decisions and my behavior. And this is actually really connected with Almost Love, because in Almost Love, it was me writing a song because I realized for the first time that in romantic relationships, I'm not always the victim. You know? Maybe I hurt people too. Because I felt like when I was younger, and that's what I really do is referring to, I was like, we put the blame on each other. We were teenagers and our endless teenage summers. And we said, well, that person did me wrong. And you said I did you wrong. But we didn't really reflect on ourselves that much. And I really started that reflecting myself process at 20. And that's what happened. And it happened through those songs, which is so weird. But that's also why Almost Love is so special to me, because that's the moment I realized that I get just overwhelmed in moments, and then I do things that I don't always mean. So that was a realization that I've had when I sing the chorus. I get overwhelmed in every moment, and I stumble through my emotions. I get overwhelmed, and my emotions tend to be all over the place, which was an important realization. It took me a long time to get there.
2 questions are related to each other. The first one being, is every song about a different person? And the second one is, if all of the songs are about different people, then there must be some sort of connection in terms of like either feeling or realization or reflection process, because the way the conversation just went, we just flowed naturally from like one song to the other.
Yeah. So every song is about a different person, except for maybe Camden and Almost Love. But what no one has realized, because we talked about this too, is that Almost Love is actually includes 2 characters.
That's true.
A you and a him. Because my favorite lyrics in Almost Love is push you away and hold him close. And in the end, I hurt myself the most. Which I think also might be one of the key takeaway lessons of the album, like me reflecting on my actions and sort of realizing that how I got to be who I am in a way. I feel like it was the start of a process that we are all now more heavily going through in our early 20s. Sort of what got me here and how can I get out of that? But yeah. But I don't know how the songs are connected. I mean, one song that I love is Always Been No, because it looks into the past, but it also looks a bit into the future of like sort of I'm responsible for my own luck and for my own happiness. And I need to give myself a lot of grace. This song, like how this song came about, is so strange because I was sitting on my rooftop with a friend of mine, and they told me that they were gonna drop college and go away for a long time, like go to a different continent. And it was a decision that they made seemingly overnight. And it was so, because, I felt so stuck and like, so like, I don't know, like tied to my life, that decision was so unthinkable for me. So I was really like just stunned and shocked when the person told me that. And then I was like, how can you do that? Like, just say it's over, I'm going. And then the person kind of told me like, it's just something that they have to do, and they don't want to look back on their choices with regret. And there's so much anxiety about the future, and I felt so much anxiety about the future when I was 20. There are people who go through life and it seems like it's always yes for them. And then there are people who it's always been no for them. And that is just a hard truth. Like, there are people who have never had their dreams realized, who, you know, whether it's like a career thing or art or getting married or whatever it is. And as a young adult, you start to realize that for a lot of people, things actually don't work out, even though we always say they do. And that there is weight to your decisions when you're young, or you feel that weight, right?
For sure.
And it's about giving yourself grace and forgiving yourself if you feel like your life has just been a lot of no's, which is what my friend felt like, and that's why they made that decision, and that's also what I feel like a lot of the times.
A question I do have. Are there any songs that you wrote for Home Stories that haven't made it onto the album?
Oh, of course, yeah. Actually, there's a story. For the longest time, like until last month, literally, which means September 2024, there was a different penultimate track on the record. It was not Hibernation, but it was a song called All This Time, which was a song about me talking to my younger self, which was a song that was so important for me. But the harsh truth is, and that's just what it means to make an album, was it wasn't good enough. But I'm really happy with our choice now, and I'm really happy that we chose Hibernation instead of All This Time, because there was one thing that I said to Martin, and when I said that to him, he was like, okay, that's the song we need. And it is the song, I don't know if you felt the same listening to it, but it was the song that made me realize actually why I had been writing these songs. What is actually making me feel stuck? Why I feel isolated? Why I'm writing an album about home? And I love the image of hibernation and sleeping and not being present. And then this song is really heavy for me because it is about trauma. But I think to me, it explains everything. The feeling of, this goes back to the question that you had before, how the songs are connected. I just realized the feeling of like, I don't know how to get back into life since that happened. It's all I think about. And everything is connected to it. All my friendships, like everything goes back to that one thing that froze me. And that's what the album is. And when I said that to Martin, he was like, you need to jump and you need to do it and say those words. And the bridge, I wrote that in last year, I think, or maybe later in 2022 as well. The bridge also wasn't a part of the song. And I love the bridge now. It goes, and so I lie quietly staring at the ceiling, dreaming up stories that won't deceive me. And I want to scream at the top of my lungs, how come that now that you're gone, I'm still here. Which I wrote that bridge, like, you know, you're a writer as well. So you know how like sometimes things just come out of you and then it's there and you're like, I don't know what just happened.
Yeah.
That was with the bridge. It just came out of me.
For me, it really is the culmination of the album.
Cool. That's what I was hoping for.
I didn't make the whole connection that you just explained to me, but to me it felt like it's the essence of the whole thing. Mm-hmm. It just, I don't know, also just musically and just all of the harmonies, it's just I can kind of imagine it in an empty church.
Yeah.
Just echoing through the entire thing. And it just... It's, as you said, it's very, very personal. And it touched me.
What I love about the song, you know, us being friends and me knowing a lot about your life, I know you're someone who gets it. And I really feel like this is a song, either you get it or you don't.
Yeah.
But the people who get it,
they get it.
They get it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and actually that it feels choral is something that was very important to me with the production. Also, I played the recorder for a very long time in my life. Like I started when I was in elementary school, and I did that all until graduation from high school. And for me, because this is like my baby and my thing, I really wanted to include the recorder at some point. And this was also where Martin was like, how, when, why? But there's the recorder.
Yeah, I heard
Did
it.
you
I spotted, yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, there she is.
There she is. I had to.
Yeah.
I wrote Serenity because I wanted to have a first song that kind of explains, is the overarching like explanation, like just how I felt, but also then how the place that the world was in. Like I feel like Serenity is the song where you can kind of tell, okay, this is maybe about the pandemic.
The first song, Serenity, is the one I associate most with you. If I were...
Is the most me?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Because it just shows me the way you see the world and the way you think. And like, if, for example, I was talking to a friend and they didn't know you, and I would show them a song, I would show them Serenity and be like, that's her.
Oh.
And that's you to me.